Ukraine gave up its third largest nuclear arsenal. The world then decided Russia should become a keeper of such power. Yet history shows it was Russia who deserved nuclear disarmament the most back in 1990s. And Russia deserves it now. Terrorists have no right to hold nuclear weapons.
Alright, it's time to welcome you all for the first time ever to an episode of Late Stage Rage. I go by the name RAGECOGNITO, and I'm here to open the curtains of the American societal facade. Whether or not I'll be successful is anyone's guess, but I'm hoping this is cathartic for me and maybe educational for all of us. I'm a disillusioned American combat veteran and a family man. I have a varied work background and a tumultuous childhood. I may not know every crack an American can fall through, but I've got a great starter list of them. I've worked for the government, contractors, I've been self-employed, and have spent most of my life chasing the American dream. It's a dream I was indoctrinated to believe in as a kid, so maybe I'm not ready to let it go quite yet.
Dusty Rhodes has never, ever done anything wrong to tarnish the name of the American dream.
I'm fucking exhausted. My existential dread is fueled by my experiences in government, politics, and corporate life. I have faith in humanity, yet have zero faith in 99.9% of individuals. But hey, even though I deal with depression and anxiety, I'm in the late stages of rage. I want to be an agent of change, but I have no more energy after my long fights, which will be detailed in the future. I thought, why not energize through ranting, laughing, and taking a critical look at this crazy world we live in? Maybe I can do something for the world. The name Late Stage Rage kind of takes a bit from the idea of the term late stage capitalism. Late stage capitalism is that point in capitalism that is no longer sustainable, which I think most people know that we're at right now. For me, late stage rage is about that rage that boils over when you realize how much the system is rigged against us. I could lash out, but instead I'm taking all that anger and channeling it into picking apart the lies we're fed on a daily basis. When you're surrounded by absurdity, but you can't quite tell if you're supposed to laugh or cry, that's late stage rage. Our topic today will be Russian disinformation campaigns. Covering Russian disinformation is crucial. Russian disinformation fuels division. Covering it will hopefully get you thinking about the playbook of others' disinformation campaigns, like in politics, news outlets, corporations. They all use similar tricks, and many of us, even me, fall for it. And to all the self-righteous people out there, you are not immune to it.
Hello, I'm Douglas Renham. And I'm not a scientist, but I do have a better understanding of what space is than any scientist living today.
It's a heavy topic, and it's one that gets under my skin. Social media is an absolute goldmine for this stuff, because algorithms can show you whatever you want to see, even if it's not actually true. I've always felt that the very freedoms we cherish make us vulnerable to manipulation, so let's look at an example near and dear to me. I'm talking about the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Fuck! You fucking Putin!
There are Americans today advocating for Russia's success. Now that's mind-blowing to me, and it should be to you too. 30 years ago, who'd have imagined there would have been so many Russian cheerleaders? Ukraine's efforts to cast off Russian corruption and influence are fairly well known, yet there are people in my community that are convinced that Ukraine is the most corrupt country in the world. North Korea, Iran, Russia, China? Nope, it's Ukraine according to these morons. I know Ukraine has corruption, every country does. We conveniently forget that Russia purposely made corruption worse in Ukraine, and that Ukraine was fighting that corruption, which is exactly why they were invaded in the first place. My own neighbors sometimes sound like they're reading Putin's talking points to me. It seems Russians have a steady supply of useful American idiots. I guess the point here is that we didn't get here by accident. Russia knows how to use our online echo chambers against us. They fuel those divides while their own media is under total state control. Yeah, I've fallen prey to bad info too, which is why I feel even more strongly about calling this out. From my vantage point, I see 5 key disinformation tactics in the playbook. Fabrications or fake news. These are fictional stories designed to deceive. Deepfakes, an emerging and terrifying threat that supercharges confirmation bias. These are realistic AI-generated videos and audio that are often intended to damage reputations. Misleading narratives. The Ukraine corruption narrative is a good example of this. Russia is the cause of Ukraine's corruption. Misleading narratives intentionally paint a partial picture as if it was whole. Trolls and bots. I've come to the conclusion that this is the most cost-effective tactic. I could be wrong, though. The perpetrators create countless fake social media accounts to create tension, spread falsehoods, and otherwise drown out more reasonable ideas and discussions. Cyber attacks. These attacks steal information or funds to further disrupt our operations. The 2016 U.S. elections faced perhaps the largest disinformation campaign in history. Is your blood boiling after hearing the words 2016 U.S. elections? That's Russia's goal. They played both sides, didn't care who won, and just wanted us ripping each other apart. Anyone who says Russia only helped one side is missing the point. You can argue that Russia helped one party or candidate over the other, but you are deluding yourself if you think that they didn't hedge their bets. One party or candidate will never be as important to Russia as the animosity they foster in the U.S. amongst each of us. So what can we do about it? First up, own your mistakes. We all get fooled sometimes. Be skeptical, not cynical. Check your source. Don't rely on just one news outlet or Facebook or, well, even me. Do your own research.
No one wants to go to jail for things.
You know who never admits mistakes? A politician. Don't be one of those. They suck. Let's be smart. Sharpen our critical thinking skills. Let's be skeptical of anything that seems to be too good or too bad to be true. And try to get a well-rounded view of the story. And please, be wary of anyone pushing certainty about complex issues. The world's rarely black and white. Those pushing that are usually the ones with an agenda. Don't let Russia or anyone else play us for fools. Stay informed, stay sharp. Let's keep those freedoms we love by using them wisely. Although my education includes a degree in political science, I feel much better when I can lean on stronger backgrounds to get my point across. Today, we listen to Dr. Timothy Snyder's understanding of Russia, China, political warfare, and disinformation. Dr. Snyder is a renowned historian specializing in the history of Central and Eastern Europe, the Holocaust, and the Soviet Union. As the Richard C. Levin Professor of History at Yale University and a permanent fellow at the Institute for Human Sciences in Vienna, Dr. Snyder's expertise is widely recognized. He is a prolific author whose books have garnered international acclaim. Dr. Snyder's work is characterized by its meticulous research, compelling narratives, and insightful analysis, often drawing parallels between historical events and contemporary political landscapes. He is a frequent commentator on current affairs, contributing his historical perspective to discussions on democracy, authoritarianism, and the importance of understanding the past to navigate the challenges of the present.
I want to take the term political warfare seriously and look at it all the way down, the way the Chinese themselves do. If we take political warfare seriously, we recognize that it only works if we take into account the overall context and take into account our own role in it. Political warfare only works insofar as it works through us. The event in the world context about which we have to be aware, speaking as we are in April of 2024, is the war in Ukraine. One cannot possibly understand Chinese political warfare without understanding the intense political significance that this war has for China right now. In this war is at stake international order as such, which China wishes to change, the reputation of democracy, which China wishes to bring down, alliance structures, both in Europe and in Asia, which China seeks to damage. And in this war at stake is also the Ukrainian deterrence of Taiwan. These are all key Chinese interests. Therefore, to separate a discussion of Chinese political warfare from the actual kinetic war which is taking place in Ukraine, the most significant war of this century and the most significant war since 1945, must be a category error. No actual Chinese participant in political warfare would make that mistake, and I urge you not to make that mistake. Chinese propaganda about this war rides Russian propaganda, both in its methods and in its themes and its particular tropes. If we follow Chinese propaganda about the ongoing Ukraine war, we notice a certain pattern, which is that the political warfare themes, which, as colleagues have quite rightly said, are meant to pass through us, have in fact done so. If we take the example of Chinese state media and Group 912 of the Ministry of Public Security, we notice the following themes. First, Ukrainians are Nazis, a Russian theme picked up by China, echoed on the House floor. Second, it's all about NATO enlargement, a Russian theme picked up by China. Third, Ukraine is corrupt, a Russian theme picked up by China, echoed on the House floor, echoed in the Senate by Senator Vance. Fourth, that democracies can't do anything about Ukraine, that it's all pointless, a Russian theme echoed by Chinese propaganda, picked up in House discussions. Fifth, we should pay attention to the border and not do anything about Ukraine, a Russian theme picked up by China, echoed in both chambers. Sixth, the Biden bribe, a Russian theme picked up and echoed by China, discussed in this very chamber. These are all Chinese attempts to do exactly what colleagues have defined political warfare as doing, to divide Americans, to make Americans weak, but also to draw Americans away from what is essentially taking place. Were one to be serious about Chinese political warfare, one would have to take into account the overall historical moment, the war in Ukraine, how important that war is for China, the opportunities that war poses for China. Chinese political warfare includes praising members of this House who delay voting on Ukraine. Chinese political warfare includes the overall attempt to alter the system. For China, the war in Ukraine is a beautiful conjuncture to try to do just that. So, members, I would urge that we consider ourselves when we consider Chinese political warfare, because as Mr. Comer has quite rightly argued, political warfare only works when it works in an overall structure, and it only works when it gets us to do things which are not in our own interests.
I sincerely hope that my knuckle-dragging attempt to cover this topic has given you a few things to think about. Do you have a resource that you'd like me to check out? Let me know, and until that time, I'll offer up some resources to check out. I look forward to hearing what you think. I'll start off the resources that tend to give a fuller picture of controversial topics. Hit me up if you've tried any of these resources and have an opinion about them. The U.S. Department of State's website offers the Global Engagement Center, which of course I will link in the description. It aims to recognize, understand, expose, and counter foreign propaganda and disinformation. Even if you are proud of your conspiracy theories, this resource offers tools and guidance on foreign disinformation campaigns. If you're looking for resources to protect yourself from disinformation and cyber attacks, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency may be able to offer something useful. Personally, I took a look at the organization's Shields Up campaign. In addition to information and resources to counter disinformation operations, there are free cybersecurity services and tools. Cybersecurity enthusiasts will enjoy the Known Exploited Vulnerabilities catalog. I've found that the Center for European Policy Analysis gives much-needed context to Russian activities in Europe. The Atlantic Council is a nonpartisan resource for cybersecurity and international relations. I encourage you to add it to your resource list. And don't forget to do fact-checking through PolitiFact, FactCheck, and Snopes. Again, all resources will be in the notes, description, or comments. If you support my efforts, I'd appreciate you sharing this show and my other efforts around your circle of friends and colleagues. As this project grows, ways to support it will also increase and grow. I'll share these new opportunities with you as they become available. Until next time, this has been RAGECOGNITO in the inaugural edition of Late Stage Rage. RAGECOGNITO out.